Yeah.
Now, is there anything that else that you would like to add? Some question that you feel I didn't ask? Something you've always wanted to talk about with whatever associated with this project?
Yeah, and I mentioned this to you. So, well, I'll say this. I've never really been much of, so in terms of film genres and being an audience member, I really enjoy, psychological thrillers, mysteries, that kind of thing, older films, or say films with, sometimes I'll just study a film, great performances, the craft of acting and that kind of thing. But I've never really been much of a sci-fi guy.
Oh, okay.
Because a big thing for me with film a lot of the time is realism, believability.
Right.
And the interesting thing about First Signal is this is the first sci-fi film that I've watched, forget about being a part of it, that in this day and age right now as we're speaking was actually potentially real.
Yeah.
And is 100%, from my standpoint, believable.
Right.
And so...
Certainly plausible, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, believable for me and plausible.
Yeah.
So what happened during First Signal is I started to do, I'm a big research guy. And I just fall down these holes and just go and go and go. And so what I started researching during First Signal was the UFO phenomenon. And I've pretty much watched, I love watching documentaries, and I've pretty much watched every documentary on UFOs.
Wow.
Including the newest one called The Phenomenon, which is on demand.
Okay.
There's no question in my mind that there's life out there.
Oh, agreed.
And the thing that did it for me is that video that surfaced fairly recently that got declassified with the fighter jets that literally lock on to what looks like...
the clip we used in the film.
The clip we used in the film.
Yeah.
That's what did it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it did it for a lot of people because,
Yeah.
When the government releases something with so much authority behind it, and I mean, it was picked up by every news outlet practically in the world.
Yeah. So what it did for me is it brought me back into the sci-fi world, back from my Star Wars days years and years ago.
Yes. Oh my God.
But again, you and I talked about, I went back and watched it yesterday with some family. And number one, there were things that I said, oh, I missed that little piece.
Yeah, the more you look at it, you notice that you wind up picking up little bits and pieces, and you say, "Oh, that could have been, or this could have been." Or I mean, I even know myself as a director, and I know even Dan Grimm, the director of photography. We looked at it so many times, and you go like, "Well, we could have done this or done that," and So what that did also is it sparked conversations for the people that I went with, and after the film, we talk about that potential phenomena and, and what is their belief and their thought on it. So that was something that really struck me from it. But also the division that can take place between, say, the politics of government and the military side of things. Yes.
And something that's talked about in the film where, small groups of people will know some very specific, classified, detailed information.
Yep.
Of just one small little piece. And there's only a very small few that know all of it.
Exactly.
And so I think there's a lot that we still have yet to learn.
Oh, for sure.
And that was something that was very interesting for me, especially with, I'll call it my obsession with fighter jets and flying.
Yeah.
It just all kind of came together for me.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like a fun fact about this film.
I did not know all that about with your background. That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
So it's something I do a lot of research on, and will continue to until I figure it out.
Yeah, that is certainly the biggest unanswered question is, are we alone? I believe we are not alone.
No, we're not.
There's no question that there's just too much. The totality of the evidence, the witnesses, this and that, and I even posted something the other day saying, well, we don't have clear pictures and clear this and that. I said, well, maybe our photography equipment can't capture a clear image because of just the way it's built technically.
Well, with anti-gravity propulsion.
Exactly. Well, this is the way when Adam and Star and I talked about the building of the ship. We didn't want it to look like an aircraft that we have now. It should look a little, I don't want to say even out of phase or anything, but it should look otherworldly.
Sure.
In another way.
Yeah.
But that's great that you did all that research on it. I mean, I suppose it makes sense because here we are doing a film that was talking about UFOs and the possibility that they're here, and the one that you were arguing with right across the table was an alien.
Yeah.
So.
And played very well. Actually, when we left yesterday, people were talking about the fact that they didn't figure out that Cedric was an alien until the field scene.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's excellent.
That's really excellent.
Yes,
because, when you make a film, you have no idea how people are going to interpret it and register it. I mean, it's one thing, you write, direct, you act, you're on crew, whatever, but when you look at an actual audience member who's got nothing to do with the film, and it's what they interpret and what they come back with. And that's interesting, which is good. I mean, I'm happy for that because,
absolutely.
That the ship arrives, takes them off, and they finally figure it out.
That's how you wrote it.
And it worked for at least that person.
Yeah. And then just one other thing, in terms of cinematography, another thing that fascinates me are, when I'm watching a film, there's this amazing shot. I start to think about how it was done. So when the president is in the bunker by herself after everybody's left, just kind of contemplating this whole thing, the shot where we get closer to the president and then pull away and kind of pan up. The fact that was done indoors with a drone.
With a drone, I know. I still look at that shot and I go, I don't know how I was able to do it. 'Cause
steady. The papers didn't go flying from the propeller.
They did a few other takes.
Right, But I thought that was fantastic.
Her hair didn't flutter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
That was really neat.
Well, that really is the great thing about the drones now. And I've since used a drone on some other projects with Dan, and I discovered things that it can do that I didn't know it did when we made First Signal. From a steady point of view to really go up, because when we did a couple takes, remember the thing would go, and then it go a little bit to the side.
It was doing its own thing a little bit, right?
It was like, and then finally it went up, and but that shot that worked out well. And then it fades right into you, coming into the base.
And that's another thing. That's a great point. So the CGI in the film was fantastic, to the point that the drone shot of General Reager pulling up to, is it Chevrolet?
Yeah.
Pulling up to Chevrolet. You see a couple of fighter jets parked, which were placed there.
Oh, yeah.
But then you see the rocket.
Yeah.
Now, I never knew that the McAuliffe Shepard Space Center existed in Concord, New Hampshire.
Yeah, no, neither did I.
Never knew it was there.
Yeah.
But the fact that rocket is physically there, the fighter jets are not, but they all look like they really are.
They really do, don't they?
That drone shot is just so
that worked out rather
cool.
well. Because you have this, it's, and you only have 16 minutes for the battery.
I know that all too well.
Oh, yes. We can talk about that moment in a second.
Yeah.
It was, so you set it, like the Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. And then I tell you, don't go faster than 12 miles an hour. And the thing did clock in rather nicely and then just stopped right above.
Yeah.
That worked out well.
After the first take.
After the first take, No, it was, but you tell the story if you want, for like the little blooper side of it about when you were getting out of the car.
So the car that General Reager was driving is your personal vehicle.
Yep.
Which I had never driven. Right. And so General Reager's briefcase with Operation Troy was in the back seat behind the driver's seat.
Yep.
And so when General Reager pulls up to the base and gets out of the driver's seat, he walks to the back door to open the door and get the briefcase. And knowing that we were on 16 minutes of battery and the drone was overhead, when I went to open the back door, it was locked.
God, that was so funny.
And my walkie-talkie, the only communication I had with you hundreds of yards away was a walkie-talkie, which was in the car.
Of course.
And so I'm looking up at the drone thinking, okay, now what?
Yeah, no.
Guess I got to drive back around.
It was so funny because we did it a few times. You get out, you look up, you open the door, you're like stuck the door open.
Darn thing. It was funny.
Yeah, that was just funny because that's like a real life moment where it's like, because I mean I know you drive a Mercedes, I have a BMW, and I know the unlock buttons are just in different places. So I mean it's just, unless you're used to driving someone else's vehicle, you just don't know.
It's like muscle memory.